Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we didn't do a video on Easter. We took a day off.
Yeah, this is our third time trying to do this video too.
Yeah, we actually had the power go out a couple of times here. We've got high winds and the power kept going out. We lost the video a couple of times. So this is our third attempt. So hopefully we'll be a little more focused.
That's right.
We are going to talk about Disney. We're going to talk about Disney laying off 43,000 union workers. We had people
at Walt
asking,
Disney World.
Just at Walt Disney World.
That's the caveat there, guys. That's just Disney World.
Yeah,
that's the union.
It's much worse than a lot of people are talking about because that's just union employees at Walt Disney World. They could be laying off significantly more people.
Yeah.
Than what they're showing, because again, everybody's focusing on those union employees, forgetting that they furloughed a bunch of non-union employees before, and forgetting about Disneyland.
Right. There's a bunch of Disneyland being like 30,000 that were furloughed there, and there's 77,000 workers at Walt Disney World, and not all of them are essential. So there's a lot of people going to be furloughed there as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but first we're going to talk about the fact that everybody's like, "Oh, Bob Iger's still CEO."
Yeah.
He's not though, but
yeah, we're going to talk about that. There's been a lot of discussion about Bob Iger, why Bob Iger is still in the spotlight and Bob Chapek sort of got sidelined.
I've been saying it. I have been saying it.
Geeky has been. Where's Chapek? Where's Chapek?
I've been asking, where the heck's Chapek in all of this? I keep saying it, guys. Anybody who follows knows that I've been asking this question, and now they're acting like, oh my God, Chapek's not around. It's Iger. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah. Well, the company's in the biggest crisis it's ever been in recent memory, right? And of course, they're going to have somebody take charge who's been in charge for years, because basically Chapek was going to job shadow, I guess, this year, and that all went to hell in a handbasket. So
it's just weird. And then something else they mentioned in this article, because the New York Times put an article out yesterday. Something else they mentioned that we also mentioned was when Bob Iger suddenly stepped down. It was like a big, like, oh my God, because it was very sudden. It was. They said he wanted to transition as of December, but then it was a sudden boom. And one of the things we speculated, because we said we didn't know, but the one thing we brought up a couple times was that we noticed the stocks were already in decline, so it made the most sense to mitigate damages to announce it when there was already a free fall of stocks, which is what they did. And the New York Times brings that up and says they did it to mitigate damages. And I was like, yeah, boom.
Yep, it's like we're all sucking, so we'll just bury the bad news.
I'm sorry to be so excited. I mean, I'm not excited about bad news. I'm just happy in the fact that it's like other people are saying it now, because we take so much crap. You guys have no idea.
Yeah, we get all kinds of comments from pixie dusters, from Disney super fans or Disney defenders. Now, the funny thing is we have not gotten nearly as many negative comments in recent weeks. Couple of things here. One, there hasn't been a lot of good news about Disney, and pretty much everything we've been saying
is the truth.
Has turned out to be correct.
Negativity and honesty are not the same things.
Not that we know everything, but we do have a basic understanding of how the company works, having worked in and around them for so long. The other thing is Disney might be running out of money, to pay people off, if that's what's going on.
Right.
They're paying people to,
It's been speculated before that they have people that they pay to go out to do damage control. A lot of companies do. Disney wouldn't be the only one. Yeah. So, we've noticed some differences. But anyway, Bob Iger. So now the New York Times is like, oh my gosh, Bob Iger's pretty much still CEO because he's fighting for Disney's life.
Yeah. See, and people are like, oh, it's not so bad, everybody. Everything's fine here. It's all fine. No, Disney cannot survive this for much longer. The company does not have the cash reserves. They're not, just because they generate a lot of revenue doesn't mean they have a lot of cash on hand. They had more cash reserves, and then they blew it on Fox.
Right, and then people are like, oh, Disney Plus. Yes, Disney Plus is okay, and they have 50 million subscribers, but how much of that money do they have to do for keeping the servers going on, keeping all the platform running? Then they have, the cost of moving out into other countries. Then they have the cost of content. So yeah, it's a lot. I'm not gonna say it isn't, but there's a lot of expenses associated with it. So just having 50 million subscribers on Disney Plus doesn't automatically equal the money. And they already knew they were gonna take at least 4 years to break even before the crisis happened on Disney Plus. So right there, we know that, they're like, well, 50 million subscribers. Yes. But you have to look at the big picture, and most people aren't looking at the big picture. And then we get in trouble because we look at the big picture. Well, the big picture is coming around to bite you in the ass, so I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's going to bite a lot of people in the ass who, had nothing in this. And, Disney, the thing is Disney, everything that they do depends on crowds.
Exactly. And they mentioned that.
Movies and theme parks, which make up by far the biggest chunk. Everybody's like going on about their billion-dollar blockbusters. We said many times. Very few people who watch the movies watch the theme parks. The theme parks generate the bulk of their revenue.
Plus, movies, they might make $1 billion, but there's much sunk into it for, their other people's cuts, like for theater, for like shared, sometimes they share, production with other places. There's all this that has to be split up. So $1 billion does not mean $1 billion in profit. And again, as we keep saying, honesty and negativity are not the same things. I'm sorry if people don't like the negative news, but the negative news isn't our fault. We didn't create it.
And the negativity here is, I think anybody who thinks the Disney parks are going to open anytime soon, they're in for a rude awakening. And we saw a lot of Disney message boards. They're like, oh, it's going to be fine. They're going to open up at the end of April. They're going to open up on June 1st because that's when the trips are going to be booked. And it's all going to be okay. And it's going to be like a switch and everything's going to go back to normal. And we'll be just doing what we were doing in 6 months from now and we'll forget all about this. Hell no. It's going to take them months to ramp the parks back up again. When you lay off that many people, they have to go do safety checks all over again. They got to make sure the parks are safe. And then they're talking, even when they open the parks, they're going to be doing, temperature screenings. They're going to have to limit capacity. There's a whole bunch of stuff they have to do. It's not going to be the same for up to 2 years.
Yes, you're not going to be, Disney is going to be completely different on the other side of this. And even Iger mentions it.
Yep.
So anyway, the whole thing with Iger and Chapek. Okay, so apparently New York Times is talking about Bob Iger. And Iger has kind of been who you hear about since, other than the investors call, or investors meeting, and then we had the call with it too, that back in North Carolina, when was that? March?
It was March, yeah.
That we had both Iger and Chapek there. And then, but Chapek wasn't allowed to take the stage by himself. Iger had to be there too, which I thought was interesting. So both Bobs were there. And then after that, you don't hear anything from Chapek. I even mentioned on our Pirates and Princesses Facebook, I said, where's Chapek? And I just said that a few days ago. And then this article comes out. So they decided to do an article on it, and he's not the CEO. They do make sure they specify that he is not the CEO, but they're talking about that they had this thing here. The new nominal chief executive is referred to almost kindergarten style as Bob C.
Bob C.
Mr. Iger is just Bob, and his title is executive chairman. Emphasis on the first word. It says Mr. Iger is now intensely focused on remaking a company that will emerge. He believes deeply changed. No shit. Who keeps saying it? We did. The sketch he has drawn for associates offers a glimpse at the post-pandemic future. It's a Disney with fewer employees, which we mentioned, leading the new and uncertain business of how to gather people safely for entertainment.
Yeah, Disney's not going to look the same. They're not going to go back to, it's going to take them years to recover. Disney has been affected worse than, I think, any other major entertainment company. Because, again, look at Universal and look at... how they have their telecommunications business that with Comcast, they can actually keep on trucking. They're going to take a hit, absolutely. But Disney is completely devastated by this because theme parks were their bread and butter. Movies were their bread and butter.
Well, they talk about that here. They said that their largest division brought $26 billion, but that's the theme parks. And then down here they're saying about they're losing as much as $30 million a day, according to Hal Vogel, who estimated it was in an interview. And they borrowed all it's been more than $6 billion in the debt market now.
Yeah, it's been like $7.5 billion.
Yeah, so they said now Iger has no choice but to abandon his plan and come back. And they said a crisis of this magnitude and its impact on Disney would necessarily result in my actively helping Bob Chapek and the company contend with it. Well, of course he would. Why would he not? But they got hold of him via email to do an interview. Interestingly enough, though, they said they wanted to talk to Chapek, but they said a Disney spokeswoman declined to make Mr. Chapek available for an interview. A Disney spokeswoman wouldn't let them talk to Bob Chapek.
Yeah, because he's not prepared. Bob Chapek is like a deer in the headlights. He's not prepared. He's not prepared for this. This is a crisis. This is a crisis. Everybody's like, oh, Disney's going to be okay. No, Disney is in crisis mode right now. and you're freaking blind if you don't see it.
Exactly. They said right now, Iger is trying to figure out what the company will look like after the crisis. One central challenge is to establish best practices for the company industry on how to bring people back to the parks and rides while avoiding the virus's spread. And they're talking about taking people's temperatures. Here's the thing about taking people's temperatures, guys. You can be non-symptomatic but still be contagious, and you might not have a temperature, but you can still spread it to a bunch of people. That is why this virus is such a problem. You can't just take them temperatures and say, okay, well, you're fine. Because they will, and that's what they'll do, but that doesn't mean they're fine. And that's the problem.
Yeah, and, look, that's assuming the government will let them open, state or federal government, because they're going to be like, it's not smart to have these theme parks open, but they're already talking about limited capacity.
Right.
And to prepare for that, Disney's already jacking the prices up on the food.
They are. They're preemptively jacking prices on things before it even opens. Then here's what he said too about moving forward. He sees this as a moment to look across the business and permanently change how it operates. He told them he anticipates ending extensive old school television practices like advertising upfronts.
Yep.
And producing pilots for programs that may never air. Well, maybe you should have undone all the damage you did from Star Wars, just saying. And you might want to look at Marvel before you go messing that one up too, what you're heading for. I'm just pointing that out. Disney is also likely to reopen with less office space. Interestingly, I don't know how this is going to affect it, but they are building a brand new building in New York City.
Yeah,
it was
past tense.
Yeah, I don't know if they still are. It was going to be like for Disney Plus. It was going to be like for ABC and all that. They're going to
Marvel. I think they were going to move over there. Yeah,
they were putting this big building. They were building. I don't know if that's changed. But now they're saying they're looking at less office space. He also told two people that he anticipated the company having fewer employees. But then he said, I never remember saying that. No, I guarantee he said it.
Yeah, they're going to, and Chapek, look, even before all this happened, people speculated that Bob Chapek was brought in because Bob Chapek is a notorious penny pincher. Mm-hmm. Okay, he budget cut across the theme parks. A lot of people felt like they weren't getting what they're paying for because Bob Chapek would make cuts to things. This company is going to cut back on so much to survive.
Including Chapek, apparently.
Yeah, including Chapek. Chapek's going to get cut. No, but no, what's going to happen is anything that is an extra, anything that was a luxury is going to get cut because the company literally is fighting for its life at this point. Okay, and Disney overspent. They overspent for years. And that's going to be Bob Iger's legacy. Yeah, if he gets the company through this, that's fantastic. But his legacy is also going to be Bob Iger maxed out the credit cards.
Right.
And then we lost our job and now we got to pay off all the debts.
Well, related but not related, I'm waiting to see if they cut the co-op money to travel agencies, because travel agencies get co-op money to help offset their advertising and things like that. And a lot of them depend on that. So it'd be interesting to see when they're making cuts if they're going to cut, because they really shouldn't have to give them that money.
No, it should be their own business. Yeah, here's a little known truth. A lot of these Disney fan blogs are actually bankrolled by travel agencies. The travel agencies are actually paid by Disney to spend money on advertising on the blog. So in a roundabout way, Disney basically owns these websites, these YouTube channels. Websites. Not all of them. But in a roundabout way, Disney does own.
They bankroll it anyway, or pay for part of it.
Yeah, and you're not gonna spit in the face of somebody bankrolling you.
Right. That's why you're like, why do these people don't give honest opinions? Because they can't. Anyway, but it'd be interesting to see if that money stops. And
I think it will.
A lot of agencies who are like depending on that. That's why you're seeing some of these agencies freaking out, like they're freaking out.
Book a trip, even though we don't know when anything is going to open.
Right, because we have to keep the money rolling in, or we're screwed, and they might not get their co-op money. So when they're saying they're cutting things, I'm wondering if that's something that's going to get cut. Because honestly, I think it's stupid they give it to them anyway. It's like that's their business expense. Why is Disney paying for it?
Well, because they want to be able to control the media, and that's kind of what happened with there were a lot of fan sites that became very popular, and Disney's like, okay, well this is when they have their approved media list and everything else, and it could extend to some of these pop culture sites too, because we're seeing a definite 180 in opinion in regards to Disney franchises like Star Wars and Marvel, whereas 6 months ago these news outlets would have been lined up with their hands out.
Co-op money stop?
I think the co-op money stopped.
I'm just saying it's possible. We don't know. I'm not saying that's the case. We're saying that's a very strong possibility, because I can guarantee you co-op money has been given out, because we know for a first-hand experience. We never got money, but we know people who did. So what's interesting to me is something else that the New York Times mentioned. I'm going back to the article. Is that people were like, why would he step down? He stepped down all of a sudden because he knew this was coming? Well, honestly, from the way his body language was in that interview when they announced it, I don't think he knew it was coming that quickly. I really don't, because he wasn't acting like somebody who, was like, woohoo, I'm skipping away.
Yeah.
That wasn't how he acted at all. He obviously acted like someone who got the crap kicked out of him, figuratively, of course. So this is interesting. One thing they mentioned in this, is they said about, how if he saw it coming. And they said people close to Mr. Iger and the company said in interviews, the real question wasn't whether he saw the crisis coming, but whether his focus on burnishing his own legacy and assuring a smooth succession left him distracted as the threats to the business grew. Because he was out there showing his book.
His book, yeah.
He got himself up with Baby Yoda on the cover of Time or whatever, and he was out there like, this is coming. And they said he has connections in China. He would have known.
Yeah.
And, he was out there too busy worrying about how he's going to make sure that he spent this last year me show, and then it kind of blew up in his face. But now it's back to him again because they apparently don't have the confidence in Chapek to put him in. And that's something else they mentioned too, was I was like, well, what about Chapek? And they said that Bob Iger is not CEO. Chapek is a CEO. So we're going to go out to my article on PNP, piratesprincesses.net. Now, I did mention, I thought was interesting. I'm trying to find it on here. He was talking about his successor. He wasn't saying Chapek. They said that when he said he had no recollection of saying that, he said, regardless, any decision about staff reductions will be made by my successor, not me. He didn't say it would be made by Chapek, not me. My successor, not me. Also interesting to point out, he's really okay with taking some responsibility for some things, but not the staff reductions. He's saying they're coming, but it's not going to be on him. But he just announced they're coming, but it's not going to be on him.
So here's a question. Could it be that Bob Chapek is not the right person to lead Disney after this blows over, and the board might be looking at this like, yeah, we had to bring the other Bob in to handle this because Chapek was not qualified in any way, shape, or form?
I don't think Chapek even got the chance to see if he could do it, because I think as soon as this happened, they just automatically handed it back to Iger. I don't think Chapek even got a chance.
Yeah.
And I'll say that, we're here because they talk later about that. They said about Chapek right here. One person close to the company said Mr. Iger assured Mr. Chapek that the extraordinary circumstances would be taken into consideration in the board's evaluation of Mr. Chapek's performance. But in reality, 2 hard, unpredictable years will determine if he can hold the job. He's not even allowed to do the job, so how can you determine if he can hold the job? 2 other executives are passed over, Kevin Mayer and Peter Rice. They're at the company. But here's the thing, you can't really judge Chapek's actions because he wasn't allowed to have any.
Yeah, a lot of people thought Kevin Mayer was actually going to be CEO, but he's running Disney Plus. So,
but again, it would have happened. I think no matter if it had been Kevin Mayer or Peter Rice, the same thing would have happened where Iger was brought back in to run it because of the situation.
Yeah,
maybe they should have waited a few months when they knew the situation was coming to make announcements about changing the guard. I'm gonna
put this out here. I don't think anybody at Disney knows what the fuck to do.
I think you're right.
That is the truth. Because Disney has been spoiled by being so successful.
They're very arrogant. They've been very arrogant the past few years.
Yeah, they've been spoiled for being so successful for so long that they don't know how to fail. And even when they do fail, they always deflect. I mean, look at Star Wars. Bob Iger, during the one shareholder meeting, people kept asking him about Star Wars, and he kept deflecting and telling them, well, Disney Plus is a big hit. And people were like, I'm not asking about Disney Plus, I'm asking about Star Wars.
Well, even in their meetings, you're not allowed to say anything negative unless you offset it with something positive.
Yes.
To make sure that, you're not being about negativity. Meanwhile, Walt Disney, if you don't know the history of Walt Disney, he almost lost the company a couple times. He gambled like on Snow White and things, and they spent too much money, and Roy had to come in and save their asses. But Walt Disney actually said, all the adversity I've had in my life, all my troubles and obstacles have strengthened me. You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth might be the best thing in the world for you. Disney faced adversity all the time. Any successful person who, overcomes it and learns from it, most of them I will always remember it in the back of their mind. They're always going to move forward, but understand that, anything can change at any time. I think the problem with Disney is they've been so successful so long that, they're just getting lazy. You can see it with the live action, everything we've already done. We don't have to make anything new anymore. We don't have to be creative. We don't have to push the envelope like we're known for. We can just rest on our laurels and it'll be fine. And it's not fine. And I think that's what's happening here is they got so cocky and arrogant, they don't know what it's like to have a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, and I think they need to learn, and this is a very, very hard lesson. Unfortunately, it comes with, a lot of collateral damage.
The cast members, yes.
Cast members, and just in the world in general, all the people losing their lives to this thing. But Disney never prepared for failure because they never thought they could fail.
Well, when you're the person struggling to make something of something, you're the one who faces all the failure. It's kind of like that shirt sleeve, the shirt sleeve that you always say about.
Yeah.
You know, you have to explain it so people know.
Okay, shirt sleeve. The shirt sleeve in 3 generations is something an economics teacher taught me years ago. Said that you've got the grandparent builds the business. The children, they see how much work went into the business, so they respect it. They have respect for it. They've got the same values. But then by the time you get to the 3rd generation, to the grandchildren, they didn't see all the work that went into creating the business, and they usually run it into the ground, which means they have to go back to a blue-collar job or something because they ran the business into the ground.
Now, I'm not saying this is his grandchildren or anything. I'm saying
No.
it's the mentality of this. We're seeing it implied in real time, and it came back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, because nobody working at the Disney company right now saw everything that Walt had to go through to save the company. And very few people working at Disney now remember when Disney was on the verge of bankruptcy, the late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, they almost lost company several times. And for all the shade that people throw at Michael Eisner, if it wasn't for Michael Eisner, Disney would just be a subsidiary of some other studio at this point. Yeah, Eisner pulled it out. Eisner did it, before Bob Iger, Eisner, and Eisner didn't go spend too much money like Iger did either. But I want to mention, before we move on to the furloughs, is that they did mention that he is not CEO. He said a crisis of this magnitude and its impact on Disney would necessarily result in my actively helping. But he said, he ran the company for years, but they said that he is not CEO. He's not saying he's CEO, he's helping. He's stepping in to help, but he is not the CEO.
Well, it's almost like a wartime president. You don't switch out presidents in the middle of a war, and it's kind of the same thing here where, the company is fighting for its life. You can't throw a noob into it and just be like, here you go.
I bet Disney wishes to God they just waited a couple more months to make that announcement of the switch, because now it just looks stupid.
Disney is going to, look, Disney is already saying they're going to be a leaner, meaner company after this.
Right, which we called. Guys, we've been telling you this. It's going to happen. It's like everything we said came true. Imagine that.
They're not sustainable. They went on a buying spree. They grew bigger than they could control, realistically control. Disney is very good at being Disney. If they just focus on their parks and making original animated content.
Yeah, original. They focus on pushing the envelope and inventing like they used to.
Yeah.
They focused on what made them Disney instead of, assimilation.
Yeah, they became the Borg. And what's going to happen is they're going to lose so much of it, I think, because they can't juggle everything. And now they're not going to have the money to juggle everything. And you might actually see, if you'd asked me 6 months ago if they would sell stuff back, because people were joking about, maybe George Lucas getting a whole Star Wars again. How desperate are they going to get?
I don't think they'll give them Star Wars. I don't think they'll get desperate enough to get rid of Marvel or Star Wars. There's no way. They'll get rid of other things, for sure. Marvel and Star Wars, no.
Disney, please sell the Muppets back to the Hensons, because you don't know what the hell you're doing with them.
But you could just pretty much say anything they've assimilated, they don't know what the hell they're doing with.
Well, they've done it before. People are like, well, Disney never sells stuff back. No, that's not true. They bought the Power Rangers. They sold the Power Rangers back to Haim Saban because they didn't know what to do with them.
Right. So, it's like, I could see them doing Muppets and selling Muppets back, but I do not think they'll go with Star Wars or Marvel anytime soon.
They have too much sunk into it.
Too much with their tie into the park and everything. There's too much they're not going to. A few years ago they might have, but now that it's ingrained into the park. And they have these new expansions. There's no way they're going to do that.
Well, please sell the Muppets back, because you don't know what you're doing. They canceled the Muppet Show. They minimalized the presence of the Muppets in the park. Right. Disney doesn't understand anything about the Muppets. They don't.
You can just basically say whatever they assimilate that they didn't invent, they don't understand anything about it.
Well, because again, that's a key thing. Like Disney, okay, fine, they get Mickey Mouse because that's their thing. That was Walt's thing, was Mickey Mouse. But you're taking other people's things that were very personal, in with the Hensons, the Muppets, very much Jim Henson.
They're trying to Mickey Mouse them, but they can't Mickey Mouse them because they only understand Mickey Mouse.
Right. Star Wars was very much George Lucas's baby, and you take the creators out of the process, and you have a bunch of people who don't understand how stuff works, and of course they're going to drop the ball.
Well, Lucas figured they were going to use his treatments to keep it so it felt like it belonged, and then move from there into new things, which tied up the Skywalker saga. Yeah. And then moved on to other things which he wasn't too concerned about, and they didn't do it. So I'm like, but they're already not making video games anymore. They're outsourcing everything there. Yeah. They've gotten rid of whole divisions they did pretty well with. They've completely just closed down their their own divisions for this, and then are outsourcing them, which is why you think Marvel is going to get outsourced. We're already seeing it with IDW.
Yep. Well, they were trying IDW, but IDW isn't.
I know. I was going to say IDW is failing. So.
But what they could do is just be like, fine, we're not publishing any more Marvel comics for a while. But think of all the salaries they could save. They got all those people working in New York.
Collections.
Yeah.
They'll just do collections.
Yeah. I mean, because what are people buying the most of anyway? They're going to go back and they're going to go buy Infinity Gauntlet again. They're going to go buy Dark Phoenix Saga again. Just like DC, Watchmen and Dark Knight are their bread and butter. And they really don't need new material.
No, and what's going to happen, and we see it with like the Walt Disney comics, they're going to just go to collections, anthologies, and they'll make collector's editions and charge a whole shit ton of money for them, and they'll get it.
Recolor, remaster, stuff from the 60s and 70s.
And they have whole categories devoted to that at the Eisner Awards now, too. So, you know, they'll just go win those awards, and they'll move on to that. But we're going to talk about the furloughs now, because people kept asking us about this. Yes, we knew about the furloughs. If you go to piratesandprincesses.net, I covered this already. But what's going on is there was like 43,000 workers. There were 43,000 workers furloughed, but these were just the union employees.
Yeah.
So the unions were in negotiation with Disney over last weekend. Well, you know, not this past weekend, the week before, and partly into last week. Disneyland had like 16 or so unions in negotiation, and then Disney World had their big union in negotiation. So what's going on is these people are going to be furloughed as of April 19th, and they will keep their seniority. And they're going to go ahead and give them their full health care benefits and their company premiums, like their education programs and all that will continue, and benefit programs. But the non-union employees also will get those, as my understanding. So there's 43,000 that were being laid off. They're having about 200 employees that are considered essential. Disney World has 77,000 employees.
Yeah, I think Disneyland has like 30,000.
We're not talking just 43,000. It's way more than that, guys.
We're talking size of a decent sized town basically being out of work. And that's on top of Universal, on top of SeaWorld, on top of countless Orlando and Anaheim businesses because of the shutdown, all the travel industry.
Well, Florida is like Pennsylvania, where it's getting so bad that the system's being shut down. It's locking people out.
The unemployment.
Yeah, that unemployment system. And the thing is, I think at the most, they get like $275 a week from Florida's unemployment.
Yeah.
It's really bad. It's like one of the worst in the country.
Florida's, it's really low because Pennsylvania, I know and this was years ago, but when I was laid off, I think it maxed out at like $500 a week, but Florida's like $275, and it only goes for, I thought it was like a month or two. It's not very long.
Well, they have all these people, and they're getting hit with so many people. Where's the money coming from? And then they're like, well, you can see if you can qualify for the extra $600 a week that they're giving through the stimulus. But when you have this many people applying for benefits, that money's not going to last forever.
Yeah. They said it's not clear how many Disney employees in all would be furloughed, and they're also laying people off in their movie divisions too. So it's not just the theme parks.
It's not just theme parks.
It's like everything. Company representative was not immediately available for comment, probably because that company representative got furloughed too.
Well, not just that. They're probably trying to just. They don't know what to
damage
say.
Control.
You know, they're. What can they say?
Yeah, I mean, what? I mean, this is catastrophic. You know, this is, and we told people this was going to be, bad for Disney, and people have it in their heads that Disney's just got billions of dollars laying around that they can just pay indefinitely. Now, I will give them props for paying people as long as they have.
Yeah.
But when you've got no money coming in, you cannot continue to pay people. Not that
Universal
many people.
is. Universal's actually, they're going to furlough their part-time people here. As far as I understand it, they're going to furlough their part-time people here soon, but they're going to give the people that are full-time 80% of their pay for a while until like sometime in May, I believe. And then they'll be furloughed as well. But they're trying to keep people paid as long as they can. I mean, I'm not around here. I'm not gonna lie to you, because it's like a right to work state where we're at. They wouldn't do that. They'd be like, "Well, you're on your own. Go get unemployment.
Yeah,
sucks to be you."
Yeah, Pennsylvania is pretty like you're not really. You have a really hard time fighting to keep your job. If somebody lays you off, like you can literally look at them cross-eyed and they can just be like, "Yeah, you're done."
Yeah, because the way the laws are in PA, it's ridiculous. They can get rid of you for any reason, pretty much.
Yeah,
and
And then they try to fight. They'll try to fight to make sure that you don't get unemployment because the company gets dinged. If they lay people off or whatever. So,
but the money they spend to fight it, they could just give you unemployment.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's going on is there's a lot of people going to be furloughed, and this is Disney World. There's about 200 employees are considered essential. Okay, so they're furloughing 43,000 people, and that's at the parks division. But they do have other divisions at Disney World area employing 77,000 people.
And, then this is, going beyond Disney, you have the contractors, which work for themselves, and their work for, we know that Disney stopped construction. Other companies are continuing construction, as we understand it, because construction is still considered an essential in Florida. So we had people coming to us and saying Universal's still working on stuff. But Disney, to save money, shut down all construction on everything.
Yeah, so this is a big old mess. But yes, we are aware of the furloughing, the 43,000 that was just Disney World. This doesn't count all the employees furloughed at Disneyland as well, which was a whole nother group of people.
Yeah. Now, I love how they keep using the language. I actually had to, because I was like, what is the difference between furlough and a layoff? Because I always thought they were interchangeable, but now they're being very careful. It's furlough, guys. That means that they can come back. But if you listen to what Bob Iger is saying, the company is going to be leaner on the other side of this. I think they have the option to hire them back, but they could very easily take the opportunity and be like, we don't need 43,000 people.
Well, some insiders who have talked to us said they think that some people aren't going to come back anyway. But there's people that just like, screw you, I'm not coming back, or they're going to go find jobs someplace else because they need more security. So they might already have, it might take care of itself because some people aren't going to probably come back.
The fact that they're doing this again shows that Disney's not planning on opening up anytime soon.
No.
They're not going to open. I mean, they may, look, I don't know when they're going to open, but there are people saying midsummer, fall, because again, you cannot just, push a button and turn the Disney parks back on.
Right. And the cruise lines, I don't know what's up with the cruise lines. I mean, those people are laid off too for some of them. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Well, so let's just say they start up cruises again. Who's gonna take a cruise after this?
Oh, you'd be surprised. The Disney board's full of people, but like, I'll be the first one to go.
Disney people, yeah, okay. So the general public, though, they associate cruises with the virus at this point. Disney had 2 of their ships had confirmed cases on it, and who's gonna have the money? Disney cruises are expensive. You're talking
they're really expensive,
like $5,000 just to go for a couple of days for a family.
You can go on other cruise lines not paying anywhere near the same amount of money. I mean, it's ridiculous. But and that's just it too. They keep not remembering, and I think Disney needs to remember this too, that a lot of people are taking a hit because they lost their jobs. They're canceling their trips so they keep their house. But the refunds, from my understanding, could take weeks to get back. When you're canceling trips, from my understanding from other travel agent people, you're not getting the money back immediately. They'll refund you eventually. No, you'll get your refund, but it might take a while. So people are canceling their trips because they're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to lose my house if I don't pay them. If I don't pay for this, I have to cancel the trip." They're not going to be coming out of this anytime soon. Where it's going to take Disney 2 years to recover, it's going to take everybody else years to recover. Yeah. There is most likely going to be a recession when this is over. I mean, already there's a recession, but there's going to likely be a recession when this is over because people are going to be afraid to spend money. They're going to be afraid because they need to save as much as they can in case something like this happens again. So they're forgetting that the guests might not be there either.
No, I can tell you the one for certain is Disney's spending spree is absolutely over at this point. They're not going to be in a position to acquire jack shit for years. So if you're worried about Disney buying up your favorite IP and ruining it, you don't have to worry about that because they're not going to be able to do that anytime
If it's not one they've already bought up and ruined.
Yeah, I mean, they've already got some of the best out there. So it's going to look different, people. Disney's not, I don't think they're going to be the powerhouse they were before.
No.
Because, again, they're taking a beating more than other companies are because other companies have, a lot of them are bankrolled by telecoms. They've, cell phones and internet bills and TV bills, and there's still revenue coming in.
I mean, I think Disney had that they have satellite companies that are still okay.
Yeah.
They have money from that, and the fact they had Disney Plus. If they had Disney Plus, they'd be a lot worse off. But like I said, Disney Plus, there's a lot of overhead with that as well. So just because you have 50 million subs doesn't mean you have all that money.
Yeah, they're literally in a fight for their lives. I mean, this is it.
The New York Times, guys.
This is not hyperbole. This is the truth. The company is not going to look the same. I think we're going to have a much smaller Disney by the time this is done, and maybe that needs to happen. Maybe they need to struggle for a while to remember what it was like to be the underdog, to come up with good ideas again. But
so the silver lining in this is that maybe on the other side of it, we're going to see, better decisions.
Yeah.
We're going to see, like you said, more creativity. We're going to see them try to think outside the box, try to, hopefully, even though I have a feeling they're going to double down on this stuff because they don't want to take chances anymore. I'm hoping for more creativity. I'm hoping it goes back to what they were, at least somewhat, so that, there'll be exciting things to look forward to again. Yeah. But even though they announced what they're going to do now, live action of Robin Hood, or CGI Robin Hood now, who cares?
Nobody
Make something new.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this somehow brings about positive changes. And I'm really hoping that's the case. I don't know what else to say about it. Thinking about all the cast members, thinking about all you guys because you're going to be laid off and everything, and we're sending out thoughts to all of you. And anything else you could think of?
No, it's a horrible situation all the way around. I mean, this whole, my mom and I were talking yesterday, and she's like, my lifetime, I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
She's like, we've heard stories. She's like, I heard stories from, my parents, my uncles about World War II, and that's the closest analogy that we can make as far as, everything being shut down this way and Hollywood grinding to a halt, and life is going to be disrupted and things are not going to be the same on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what happens, when you have something this expansive and this, so much loss and to jobs, to life, to everything, there's no way people are going to look at everything the same on the other side of it.
No, and I think in terms of like Disney fans, I think a lot of them are trying to latch on to, well, everything's going to go back to be the same, and they
might need that belief.
So I'm not going to, I guess my thing is, like, I'm not going to fault those people, because they're like, well, I need to have, basically, we need to go have our Disney trip after this is over, to feel like life is normal, moving on.
And the thing is, I understand that, because, like, people get mad at us, and they're, like, down on us all the time, like, you hate Disney, I'm trying not to cry, but I'm going to cry. We don't hate Disney, that's the thing, we love Disney, we always have. We hate what they've become in the last few years, but we love Disney. We go all the time. Like, it was like our thing to do with our kids, and they loved it too. They couldn't wait to go. Even Squid King was so excited to go last time. It's like, we do love Disney. We just don't love what it has become. And to sit here and say nothing and just be like, oh, everything's fine, sunshine kittens, pixie dust, isn't honest, and it isn't the truth. And I'm sorry, I don't know how you slice it. It's not what it was.
No, it's not. And, Bob Iger, again, I think his legacy is going to be, he ran up the bill. I mean,
not everything he's done has been bad.
Not everything he's done has been bad, but at least from my perspective, as a shareholder, I'm like, his legacy to me is going to be, he ran up the bills, he bought a lot of things he didn't need to buy, he ran the company into debt, and then he spent his last year focusing on himself instead of, what was best for the company, and here we are, and now, the company is not going to look the same after this, and it's going to take, I'll be honest, I don't think Bob Chapek has what it takes.
No, I don't think so either. The only reason they were thinking him was to cut corners to save money, but I don't know what's going to happen,
Call
guys.
up Michael Eisner again.
I don't know what's going to happen, guys. I'm worried about what's going to happen, just like all of you, and it just breaks my heart, because we don't want to hate Star Wars. We don't want to hate Disney. Those things have been very important to me since I was little. I don't want to be upset about them. But here we are, and it is what it is. And hopefully after this, we're seeing a better Disney, a better Star Wars, hopefully, but I don't expect it.
Sometimes a kick in the teeth is the best thing in the world for you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to wrap this one up?
Yep.
Okay, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.